What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. We got some Rift. So this week, the Iron Banner dropped, and Rift was the game mode that Bungie chose for Iron Banner, and it was a controversial choice. Mainly because Rift is known to not be a very solo player friendly game mode for the Crucible, and that's kind of how a lot of people play the Iron Banner. They'll jump in there solo, use the matchmaking system to find themselves a team, and just kind of grind out some matches until either A, they earn enough rep to buy whatever loot that they want from Lord Saladin, or receive it from post-game reward drops. Now, the funny thing about Rift is that it's really set up to be a objective and team-based mode. And if you don't have a team, you really suffer in Rift. It can be very, very difficult to win games in Rift. Now, I was playing last night a lot. I played a little bit of solo, had some difficulties, played a little bit with one friend, and even a team of 5, and found that even just having one person on my team that we couldn't communicate with created some problems. If that guy went and grabbed the spark and just took off with it, we didn't know where he was going. We couldn't tell him to slow down. We couldn't tell him where the enemies were. We couldn't tell him we were about to use a super to clear his path. You know, all of those types of things really negatively affected our success in Rift. With a team of 6 all communicating, Rift is a super fun game mode, and it's actually one of my favorite game modes in the game because it does require so much teamwork. It does require so much cooperation. And I'm happy, actually, personally, that Rift is the game mode, because most of my clanmates don't really like playing Rift because their main experience with it has been in daily challenges, daily Crucible challenges, where it's just not fun to jump in with 1 to 2 players. You really want that full team. But last night, we jumped in with a team of 6, and we had a ball. We were communicating, we were beating up on other teams. We even faced off against some other full teams of 6 and had some really nice sweaty matches. But for the most part, we were matched up against teams that had maybe a couple groups of 2 on them, maybe a group of 3 and some randoms. You know, nothing super coordinated, and we were able, using communication, to just run all over them. And we all kind of had our specified roles. I tended to be kind of a slayer, not really worrying about the objective too much. I would kind of try and disrupt the enemy team as much as I could, try and get the kills so that they could never really mount a true offense on the Spark, while my other teammates would try and move in on the Spark at least as big as a group of 4. So we'd have a group of 4 all kind of roll into the Spark at the same time and try and wipe out any opposition that was kind of just hanging out there. And that, for the most part, worked out really well for us. We did come up against some teams that were really tough. I actually got a Twitter message about another team of 6 that we were going up against. We actually played 4 games against that team, and went 2-2 with them before matchmaking kind of split us up, which was too bad because it would have been nice to get a tiebreaker in there. But even though I personally like Rift, I can totally understand why there is some dismay. Look at this super. What a fail. Oh my God, that should have been such a win right there. You know, even though I like Rift, I can understand why people aren't happy about it. Playing Rift as a solo player is just simply not a fun experience. There is no way inside Destiny to kind of manually, to have default communication turned on for your whole team. Something like in Call of Duty or other games of that ilk, where that is the default, people talk to each other by the default. You can communicate even with people you don't know, but because Destiny's default is to basically keep players silent, you just don't see that kind of interaction inside Destiny. So my recommendation is, if you want to compete in the Iron Banner but are having a hard time playing with, you know, random match-made groups, get into an LFG, get into a looking for group site, and find some other players who want to play and want to succeed in Rift. It's actually a lot of fun. You might make a few friends. But ultimately, I don't really think that Rift belongs in the Iron Banner. Iron Banner, you know, it's a funny thing. I think that Bungie intends it to be something that you do with a group like your raid team, right? Where every week or every time that the Iron Banner comes to town, you get together and you all play as a group, similar to the way you do the raids as a group. But that's not really how people play Iron Banner. Like I said before, a lot of people just like to kind of hang out, chill, play a little bit Iron Banner. Maybe they'll play 5 or 6 games in a row, rank up one level, and leave the rest for the next day. It's not really considered all that sweaty. Part of that is because of the extreme lag. Now, we know that Bungie is trying to address the lag in the Iron Banner this week, actually today. I can't really comment on how successful that's going to be, just because, you know, I've had this bad lag for 2 months now, right? I've been playing with this lag for 2 months now. A couple of games or an hour or two worth of Iron Banner, I don't feel like is going to justify an opinion on how much or how little they actually addressed the latest version of lag or the latest version of skill-based matchmaking in the Iron Banner. I would very much like to say it's fixed, but I'm unwilling to draw that conclusion yet. I will say this, though, is I'm glad that Bungie is taking the time to address the lag that has been, frankly, crippling in the Iron Banner since its inception, although it feels like it's gotten a lot worse in the last couple of months. I'm glad that they are taking the time. They've heard our complaints about how bad the lag is, and hopefully that, you know, the changes they make now will positively affect our experience in the Iron Banner and will actually be transferred over to many more game types in the Crucible, especially Trials of Osiris. I feel like Trials of Osiris, the connections inside Trials of Osiris have gotten worse and worse and worse since kind of the inception of the game mode. When I first played Trials of Osiris, the connections were insane. It was some of the best, it felt like some of the best peer-to-peer matchmaking that I've ever played, and I was supremely impressed by it. Now, however, I don't have that experience at all. Lag is a common thing in Trials of Osiris. They've added a lot of matchmaking criteria that aren't necessarily connection-based, which is unfortunate because that was the promise of the Trials of Osiris. So Iron Banner, it's a funny thing. You know, I think that it should be a team-based event, but that's not really how people play it. And after over a year, almost a year and a half of Iron Banner, for Bungie to make such a completely team-oriented mode switch, I think is really kind of pissing people off. We'll have to see, though. At the end of this week's Iron Banner, we'll have to see if people kind of change the way they play Iron Banner for Rift, maybe for the better, or if, you know, this just was a bad social experience. A lot of people like Clash. I didn't like Clash. It felt too random. It felt too campy. Not really my game type to begin with. I like the competitive game types where you actually have an objective, where you have to have some, you know, some teamwork and some cooperation and some communication. So Rift to me is a lot of fun, but I understand that that's not how a lot of people play Iron Banner. So I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say about this one. You know, are you guys digging it? Is it okay? Would you like to see it go back to Control? Do you think Iron Banner just needs an update? Do you think it just needs to change in some dramatic way? It is one of the oldest feeling events that we have in Destiny at this point. There's been so much change in Destiny, and Iron Banner just feels like it's often the same every week. And obviously the lag has been absolutely notorious in Iron Banner, so we'll have to see if Bungie can address that in a proper way with this latest matchmaking update. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Again, I will be streaming tonight, so if you'd like to hang out, play a little Iron Banner, I'll be streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Planet Destiny Twitch page. So that should be actually a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.